Howdy, 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 this is Jail for another Weekly Shonen Nonsense for this week of July 9th, 2023. Got a lot of comics to cover, so let's get to it. Icehead Guild, Chapter 3. Quite a bit went on this chapter, but most notably was the introduction of Sana, a new character here, of undetermined gender. I mean, granted, Sana, presents feminine, the hairstyle, the facial features, but there's also a hint of an Adam's apple. They don't ever use any other gender terms, though there is also their tribe, which seems to be mostly female. However, we don't really know too much yet. Either way, they're a kleptomaniac. They might as well just be kleptomaniac sexual, or gendered, because clearly they just like stealing things, including the Diary of Dear Old Dad. Now, of course, not many people like that. Gil, of course, and so is this, dude with a really, good-looking dog. Unfortunately, Gil doesn't like this plan of murdering Sana, so he stops them. There's a bit of a Looney Tunes energy here, because Gil is now just kind of digging around the snow everywhere. Is he going to get lost and go into Albuquerque? Either way, he stops the criminal, saves Sana, but Sana keeps running off, saying they don't really want to trust anybody, and there's a literal cliffhanger at the end where Sana's falling into a ravine, and Gil's chasing after them. So finally, a story where Icehead Guild gets a second chapter that leads from the last, because the last two chapters have been basically kind of their own self-contained little narratives. It's an interesting take to the series in a Shonen Jump work, so I'm kind of looking forward to see what it's going from here, though I kind of want to see about getting maybe a different letterer. There were a lot of little grammatical errors this comic has had. There's just, like, a scene involving Sana's backstory where it's revealed that they've been taking books and reading them. We get a moment where the characters are like burning the books, and there's just a panel clearly that was supposed to have more words in it, but it just has weave in it, or weave, like we have, just kind of sitting in the middle of the panel, in the middle of this balloon. And I'm just going like, okay, I can't read this. Like, I don't know what it's saying. So I don't want to blame the translator. I don't think the translator is the one at fault for this. I think it's just the formatting, and the letter probably just missed this page on edit, and also the editor probably missed this on edit. So again, this is a new series. It really should be coming a little better on its presentation than it is right here, because we're trying to grab new readers. It's a good story, but it deserves to be properly translated to get that story across. Martial Master Asumi, Chapter 4. A neat little chapter here. We got the kind of backstory / motivation / just brotherly bonding of Nito and Kazuro, and kind of revealing Kazuro's character of kind of just wanting to pursue strength without really understanding what strength is, though, the series really hasn't defined what strength means in this universe yet, as there will be other comparisons later down the line in this lineup here. It's a fairly straightforward little affair, though I do like how it's obfuscated, like, who Kazlo is to his audience and who Kazuro is to his family, and how, like, that kind of murkiness makes it a little awkward to kind of go into conflict with him, though it makes it a little easier when he does villainous things like invite Yuya to a filming of a fight and then using Yuya as practice and beating the living tar out of him. It's a fairly unique little villain situation. It does mean it leads into Nito fighting Kazuro here in the next chapter. Though, at the same time, we don't really know. He could be fighting the second that Kazuro's brought in for the filming. Could be something else as well. Again, pretty good. It's would have all been better if they just let the boy be a locksmith. Let him be a locksmith. Nue's Exorcist, Chapter 9. So actually, a lot happened in this chapter. I mean, we started out with Gakuro being forced to challenge Shiroha to a battle in a week, so that means in a week we're going to have a fight. Meanwhile, apparently we're being set up for a, of all things, beach episode in the next, like, chapter or two. And then we get a really long and awkward sequence of a date between Gakuro and Shiroha on a discount card where they can get a 3,000 yen discount as long as they kiss while paying the check. That is fucking creepy. Anyway, I also called it. This series is strictly becoming a harem series. There's like no ifs or buts about it. Literally, the first scene of like him walking into the club room this chapter was him walking in 3 women all playing Mario Kart Wii. Huh. You know, I'd imagine she'd be getting like Mario Kart 8, but those are these the Wii car wheels. Very bizarre. I mean, also we have like a date with one of the haremites. In this case, the kudere, if I'm using the term correctly. And that's fine, but this feels like it's a series with, like a harem series with no teeth. It doesn't have the same bite as, like, Ayakashi Triangle, which is down the list. I mean, Ayakashi Triangle shows no mercy. It doesn't care. It is as shameless as its characters are presented as. It doesn't mind showing this stuff off, but this is very conservative. It, keeps the girls in proper dress wear, keeps the guy from being presented as pervy. It really keeps the protagonist from having any kind of personality at all. Granted, harem protagonists usually suck, but this is also Shonen Jump. I'm expecting to be a little more, invested in the main character. You got Luffy, you got Asta, you got all these other protagonists in other series, all the Joestars, and like each one of them is a fantastic character to follow in regardless of the scenario that is presented in front of us. And in this one, Gakuro feels lame. He's literally being led by the nose, and he knows it. And he's, showing that he's okay with being led by the nose in the scenario. So it's sort of sad. Like, this is our protagonist, and we're also sort of getting a very clean version of it. Now, granted, we are going to be seeing a beach chapter here or two, so, I mean, bikinis are coming in, but, I mean, until we get some other things going for it, we're not really seeing too much out of the series that isn't something you could get elsewhere, like down this list. My Girlfriend Gives Me Goosebumps, Chapter 9. Ah, the perfect refreshments. Rice crackers, tea, and a boyfriend doll. Okay, and this kind of disappointed me. That was just for practice to teach her to tie him up, but she's sort of failed to do that without making it feel really disturbed, and she doesn't want to be as lewd as she thinks she needs to be, or wants to be, or something, and she just pulls back, saying that, yeah, all my attempts have been a pale imitation of what would actually be horrifying, which sort of makes him go, okay, well, let's tone it down, I'll help you. So we start by apparently sitting with each other for an hour as they stare at each other, or at least she stares at him. Of course, he goes home, his mother wondering why he didn't get his dick wet, which just baffles me. And then, of course, he goes and apparently, gushes to Fukumura, saying, oh god, it was so great, while she's stuck going, man, I'm going to hear this twice, aren't I? This series is fine. I'm a little disappointed in this one as well as the previous one here, where we're kind of getting a character as a yandere character as our main love interest, and we don't really use that aspect of it. Like, it seems like the author's answer to what if a yandere got what she wanted, like, immediately, the answer is she wouldn't know what to do with herself. She would flounder and fail. Like, at the beginning of the series, we have her stalking him, like, intimidating people around him and her old best friend. Like, there's clearly this tension that was built up, but we're sort of getting it released by just reveal that she's just a normal, ordinary girl who might just have a bit of an obsessive compulsive disorder. That's about it. I mean, I'm one of those fears too. I want this to be a semi horror series. Come on, man. But regardless, it's still decent. Wouldn't stop reading it in this situation. Just kind of hoping it gets a little better before inevitably add something else, some other wrinkle to it that might change the genre. Tends to happen a lot in manga. Do retry chapter 10. Magic Man done stole my charm. All right, so yeah, we get the Nijimura encounter here on the water, and of course we get a bit of a flashback because Nijimura apparently knew our father character, who apparently, according to him, killed all of his squadron. We don't know the reason why. Clearly, they're going to keep that under wraps for a bit. But of course, we also see a little fight between Nijimura and Okami because apparently, Nijimura got just straight scared by the event, and now wants to end their bloodline. Like, oh, your sister has TB? Cool. That just means I have to kill you. And of course, Ikuno comes in, for the save. But then of all things, Nijimura decides to pull out a syringe, pump something into himself. He goes mad crazy. Those eyes are terrifying, so much so that even scares Ikuno into not actually putting up a fight, and Nijimura just kind of fucks off from there. Of course, even though with the intimidation, Okami is, stepping up to do battle with this guy to, get some answers about his dad. This was really fascinating. The way the series is going, especially how it's kind of building up the fights before the fights start. It's a really good villain introduction, or really villain exploration, kind of building up what the fight's going to be like when the actual boxing starts. And my God, the art. Oh God, that face is going to haunt me. That was terrifying. Just, this guy, he wrote another series earlier on. I forget the exact name of it, but it was middle of the road. Its art wasn't fantastic. It was good, but not fantastic. This is a step up. He has been doing amazing in this series, and I'm really looking forward to what the fight's going to entail, especially if he's going to dope up in that one too. What horrifying faces he's going to make. It's great. Kill Blue, Chapter 12. Time to play some futsal, or whatever that is. Anyway, so we get, Tenma and his, challenge being accepted by Ogami and the Homek crew, because, Homek ain't going to take none of that shit. And we get a bit of a Tenma build-up as well. His teammates are saying, hey, you should probably, chill it on this. Meanwhile, after a little bit in the chapter, we get more of Tenma's kind of reason for wanting to fight Ogami is more of just kind of he gets irritated by him. Something bothers him about him. So we may get a little bit more about that in the proper fight, but, we got to do some team building, so we have a Pacifier joining in to the fight, and some rando. Yeah, just some random guy. If his name is known, I don't know it yet. He just seems to be into defending the Homek team, and we get the fight kind of starting out because man, Tenma is a cocky son of a bitch. Talking a mad shit and then going for a shot on goal from halfway across the damn stadium. Of course, he gets deflected by Pacifier here. I'm forgetting his name and I choose not to remember. But then, of course, Ogami then shows, no, bitch, I can kick the ball too. So we get Ogami, a 39-year-old assassin in a 14-year-old's body, versus an actual 14-year-old prodigy who is a bit stuck up. Again, intriguing beginning. This fight should be fun. Tenmaku Cinema, Chapter 13. It's all Tenmaku all the time. So this chapter is just a Tenmaku backstory. A good chunk of it seems like. We kind of understand where he comes from. He was originally a boy named Takia. His mother, unfortunately, unalived herself at some point, but he got soft adopted by, Rio, the director he loves so much, and reveals that he's been a ghostwriter for him for a while, but always, under a different title or name, always helping out but never really showing himself off. In fact, he dove so far into cinema that he basically just kept reading everything his father hadn't produced yet. You know, he would read the old screenplays and became a good screenplay writer because of it. And we revealed that he was going to make a film right before he died. We don't know how he died, we just know he woke up in the cinema and met Hajime there. And while he wrote the shore to, work with a child who had only some access to filmmaking, he's wanting to kind of build up to working on the big film he never got to make with his dad. His dad. So, again, good little motivation. Was a fun little trip into the backstory. Let's see where this goes from here. Like, sort of waiting for the next big reveal, possibly the actual film being produced. Like, that's probably going to be the big thing that's building up to right now. We're sort of setting up the dominoes. Let's see how this tumbles down. Fabricant 100, Chapter 29. Another split-focused chapter. We get the beginning where we kind of get Ayako's backstory, where she's showing her master being extremely weak, not really that strong, but he has good morals and he's a good person who cares about his community. And of course, while Ayako is extremely strong, stronger than he is, stronger than most in the town, she still respects and wants to protect this good-natured person. And unfortunately, her doing so sort of took advantage of him, just like everybody else takes advantage of him. And unfortunately, he dies, saving them from a fabricant. So she, in other words, is also embodying self-sacrifice in some way by protecting him. And of course, then the rest of the chapter is basically just 100 running train on the goddamn fake. Like, he tries to turn to Ashibi. Like, oh no, which one do I shoot? Oh, I'll shoot both. The one I know is going to live. So I'll just shoot both. My God, she is unstoppable. That is just phenomenal for having like this fighter, support character as she is. Ashibi is the main character. 100 is his gun, and man, I'm just getting some weird like Gigantor flashbacks. Like, really, she's just his Gigantor. Yeah, she could be used for good or she could be used for evil. She's probably gonna be used for evil because someone's gonna like ask her to do something and she's gonna go, oh, I like to do that. Yeah, sure. So fun stuff. Not a whole lot else to talk about though. Cypher Academy, Chapter 31. So instead of actually competing in the contest, y'all are just gonna, join up instead and then fight the one other team? Cool, that's lame. This is a competition. We're supposed to be seeing competition, battling each other, getting ready for a big old fight. But no, we're just gonna all combine together and fight the main team. Whatever. Of course, now we have to build the better team out of the classmates we have, and of course, one of them is not wanting to play ball. Literally, Trauma Girl is like, no, I don't want to do that. So Iroha goes like, no, you're going to, and I'm going to beat you at the game we played once. So they play it again, and he wins. She's like, okay, fine then. And then that ends the chapter with a big declaration of the fight to come. I am sort of looking forward to this because what it means is the series is going to end soon. Or at least it feels like it's ramping up towards an ending. I mean, literally facing Trauma Girl, which is supposed to be a big moment for Iroha, really tells me, like, okay, we're sort of trying to wrap things up, like getting ready for the next leg of this, if not really the final leg of this, where we're getting the big competition to find the pieces that lead to the morgue. So, we're probably going to get like they win the competition, but in reality, the secret villain is actually going to be Kogoe, and there's this one last little hint, and then it'll be like, oh, we will, hopefully fight again someday, end series. I mean, I don't really like the idea of, championing an end of a series because, I mean, this is an artist and writer doing their best to produce a comic in a very, harsh environment that is Shonen Jump. These guys are going through the ringer every week to produce something that makes the readers happy and makes the company happy. And that's really, admirable. The problem is, this isn't very good. it feels like the writer, especially, has a problem with the idea of allowing the art to do the talking. This is comics. Comics are a mix of not only words, but pictures together. And a lot of times, comics can be best read without really words in the way, where emotions or feelings or concepts can lead the narrative rather than just you know words on paper. Now, this is a puzzle series, a series about puzzles, but a lot of times they're word puzzles and word puzzles that are sort of uncreative. Like this one here is basically just they like have only a select number of characters to answer questions for, and if they mess up or if they can't answer, they lose, which is cool and all, but and it feels like it would animate well. It could be in the anime, it would look great, but in paper, it's really hard to read. It's really hard to follow, and to be honest, like I would like some more bombast. I'd like to have the stakes make more sense. I'd like to have some scarier moments. Like again, Yu-Gi-Oh is a great example of this. Yu-Gi-Oh was about games and presenting a character who's good at games, good at mind puzzle things, and making an exciting series because Yugi was a like the king of games. He tried his best to battle people via games, and didn't mean he was guaranteed of a win every time, but it did mean he'd like show something clever, show a great art, give a great explanation, let the readers figure things out, but also let the readers be intrigued by they don't know. This fails in that because it never lets the reader be allowed to think past like the words that they're saying, and even worse is that the puzzles themselves get like drummed into the ground or overly explained because there's a concept the readers may not know, like just random stuff that the author seems to want to like put into the work as a like little tidbit where the Kogare stuff comes in, and that's not great. And maybe that's being reflected. I don't know how long the series is going to last. I sort of hope it ends soon. Again, mostly to see if these artist and author combo can pull something a little different out, like get something more than just something ho-hum like this. The Ichinose Family's Deadly Sins, Chapter 32. Talk about trauma. Okay, so Grandma's in a coma, apparently sharing the dream with Grandpa now. And of course, we get more on the mother situation, because Ma looks cheery and happy, but in reality, she is stressed as all hell. Finally snapping at the dinner table because no one's respecting what she's having to put up with. Like the deadbeat dad who fails to get a job, the daughter who's like just constantly complaining about everything, the son who's like just terminally childish, even though he's just gotten out of the hospital and has just been cleared. Like she is under duress and she is not happy. And of course, this doesn't help with, Tsubasa then going, oh yeah, where's your other son? Like, whatever happened to him? And then her just proceeding to flip the table using Tsubasa as the bludgeon, with just the final lines of the chapter being, maybe I should have been in a coma. It seemed happier there. God damn, that's dark. It just oozes this dark and depressing atmosphere. Like, the tension that was built up in the beginning of the chapter gets released with her snapping at all of them, like telling them off for all the utter hypocrisy of it all. Like, are you going to go change Grandpa's diaper? Because, I'm going to have to, because none of you are responsible enough to try to do something to keep this family together. Like, again, this doesn't feel like it's a Shonen Jump series. This feels like it's a seinen series that really deserves to be in like Jump Ultra or something else here. This is well written, well performed. The pictures and drawings are perfect. Like they express the emotions of the characters extremely well, and the writing is impeccable. Like, this is also in the 30 dead zone, like 30 chapter dead zone. Usually around this time, series get canceled. Like, they've maybe done enough in the book sales to stay alive, or they've barely done enough and they're going to be canned soon anyway. So I'm hoping this survives the 30s. Now, that does mean it's about another 2 months of publication that it has to survive through. But, and this one also seems like it's ramping to a finale, considering we're learning more about Soda. The grandmother's story seems to be generally told. The mother's finally snapping and the tension's being released here, at least. It seems that way, but I'm hoping it lasts longer. I'm rooting for this one. Akane Banashi, Chapter 69. Nice, a color cover for Chapter 69. Alright, anyway, so we get Akane's performance, or at least the beginning of it, of Changing Time. Not a lot of notes I have on this. It was just a really good story to follow because, we get to see the interaction between the husband and wife, the drunk husband and the apparently very hungry wife. Again, fascinating story. And of course, we get more little commentary on Akane's performance by the judges, saying, she's doing pretty well. But there's also the idea that maybe she's not going to be get as much response out of the audience because the audience has been seeing a lot of bombast out of the past performers. So Changing Time seems to be very slow and methodical, a lot more interpersonal rather than the more like punchy stories from before. But that seems to be Michael seems to be implying that it's going to mean more once she shows off her dad's technique. And then the chapter ends off the idea of what is the image of her father? Like, what does Akane, see of her dad now after performing Changing Time, or even during the performance of Changing Time? I mean, I'm looking forward to the next chapter. Chapter 70 is clearly going to be the real meat of the story, where we kind of dive into what more of Changing Time is and how Akane's performance demonstrates what her dad means to her. And then probably 71 is going to be the actual ranking and the wrap-up of this part of the story. I'm looking forward to this. It's a bit predictable, clearly, but at the same time, I am loving this. I love Akane showing how she's improved over time and now is like at the precipice of a major revelation about herself and her life and her father. Again, amazing. Keep following this wonderful story. Blue Box, Chapter 108. This is a chapter all about rivals. So we start the chapter out with Yumika texting Chi about basketball, and then we, of course, lead into Chi now becoming the captain of the basketball team, leading her team to nationals, or trying to train to lead to nationals. And, of course, Taiki also gets told he's need to get training for his own take on nationals here. The two meet up, give a mutual good luck, and part up. Of course, this is observed by another person, that being Mutsuoka. Rival boy, guy who was trying to get in Chi's pants and left the country. We sort of find out through his interaction with Taiki this chapter that he was really looking at Chi as more of a goal setter. Like, she herself was so determined to become a basketball player, become like a pro player, that he sort of saw this as an opportunity to improve himself as well, and decided that his love was going to be expressed through pursuing his own work independently, regardless of others. Meanwhile, of course, Taiki came in, and Taiki, being who he is, instead of just blindly pursuing his own goals, he pursued them in order to catch up with Chinatsu, which Mutsuoka sees as his actual failing. That's how he's never going to get the girl. So he ends their little rivalry with a bit of English, telling him not to screw it up, and Taiki's like, dude, why are you speaking English? We all speak Japanese here in this comic. Anyway, of course, the final little pages give us a hint of the next arc. It's birthday time, and Chinatsu's like, leave your calendar open. So, looking forward to that one. But hey, again, I'm fascinated by seeing some of the comments here on the Shonen Jump page of just common Taiki W, because yeah, boy wins a lot because he kind of earns it. He does a lot of good things, and clearly that those good things are paying off now. So, hey, he deserves it. Witch Watch, Chapter 116. Alright, so we got the beginning of two fights here. Not really getting too far into them, but at least enough to understand. So we've got first is Komugi versus Keigo. Komugi apparently comparing herself to an antlion of all things. and then espousing some kind of gibberish about work equaling the right to exist, which is seems to be a very pointed commentary about work culture in Japan. But either way, we get Keigo, who apparently has two wolves inside of him. One that wants to just lie around and watch Scorsese films, and the other one that wants to get laid. And clearly, he wants to change that about himself and, determines himself to fight Kamugi, who then summons a golem, and then we just hard stop there because we don't want to see where the rest of that fight goes, quite yet at least. Because then we, jump over to Mahiro versus a Rabuka? Okay, whatever her name is, who apparently are just sword fighting. It's just a straight sword fight. Not really anything fancy to it, just she can cut really well with an EI, and he doesn't really have an answer for it quite yet. We're going to see that answer probably soon. So, not a whole lot, but good chapter. Sakamoto Days, chapter 126. This comic never disappoints. Okay, so we've got Heisuke joining the fight and immediately launching to an attack, but of course we get a moment of you should have gone for the head from everybody else, because, he shoots her in the hand to stop her firing, but then proceeds to piss her off because, like, why didn't you try to kill me? And he's like, I don't play by your rules. I'm not going to kill you. That's not my goal here. I'm trying to stop you from killing my friend Hyo. Of course, Hyo's like, yeah, you really should have gone for it. But either way, they both basically, trade blows. Seems like, Heisuke's on a bit of the ropes. But then, of course, using their amazing synergy, Heisuke fires a bullet, ricochets off of Hyo's faceplate, and hits her. Like, my God, that is insane. This series is phenomenal. It's just so crazy what it just decides to do for a fight scene every single time. I look forward to an anime of this because it's just breathtaking, and like no words can truly describe how insane this all is. And it is truly Sakamoto Days. Ayakashi Triangle, chapter 135. Hey, look, a color cover. I guess I'm not sure what that means. It's, it's manga plus. I don't know if that means anything different here. Maybe it just means volume sales are coming up. But either way, this is just a fun little chapter. Of course, we have the fight starting between Matsuri and Matsuri, or really fake Matsuri and real Matsuri, revealing that it is actually his manhood embodied as a curse. And of course, Matsuri is completely okay with killing it as long as it's saving Suzu. Because clearly these old men really are scared of Suzu. Because she's not just any demon, she is 1,000 years of pent-up sexual desire. And they have to stop her. And that is hilarious. Literally, they're scared of a teenage girl's lust, of all things. And of course, Matsuri then snaps back with well, that's why I love her. I love that she's a sexual demon creature. Even if she's kind of perverted, I'll keep her alive and do things when I'm an adult. Either way, it seems like it's about to turn, male Matsuri comes out and goes, no, kill me now. And of course, then the old men, reverse it, knock Matsuri away, damaging her outfit, revealing they've gotten a power-up, and then Suzu enters the frame. This series is silly. It is just a silly, goofy, little perverted series full of teen A, but it just knows what it is. It doesn't try to hide it. It doesn't try to, obfuscate it with other myriad little points or purviews. Yes, it does have action scenes with, bombastic line and great art. It's perfect in that way. It knows its balance. It's, dirty though. Wonder why it's lasted so long. But, I know reason why. It's because guys like nipple and they buy the volumes. Dudes, it's kind of easy to find nipples. They're everywhere. You have them. Theoretically, if you're a human being, you probably have nipples. You can just look at those. It's fine. You don't need to support this. But even if you do, it's still good art. Undead Unluck, chapter 166. Hey, look, another color cover. So we got Shen versus Mui here, though it's really more of Shen's backstory, where we reveal what he believes is the true purpose of strength, what it means to be strong, and it's to protect others, to hold on to what you love. And through this battle, he dedicates himself to Mui and protecting her, and decides to end the battle with one last little push of her off the cliff. Yeah, turns out Untruth came up at the wrong time, and she just basically ate that hit. Of course, then, Shen jumps in for the save, along with everybody else. Quite literally everybody, including Feng, come in to save him, and her. Of course, now he has Untruth. Now he's going to be fighting Feng himself in the next chapter. Again, phenomenal rematch is going to be happening. Looking forward to it. Again, not much to say. It's cute. I'm really looking forward to seeing this all animated because, oh god, I hope it gets in season 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and oh god, I want the series to go on forever. My Hero Academia, chapter 393. Collar Lick a Tongue. Alright, so we get the beginning of this chapter explaining what Toga's villain name is going to be, with a bit of a Marxist read of history, apparently. So instead of saying it's one individual person made a trend, they instead go, it was a trend that was kind of followed through history, as apparently villain names were just basically given to people rather than created by those people themselves to better facilitate dealing with them, because villains and heroes were sort of the same thing back in the day. And eventually heroes and villains sort of just adopting the names themselves, creating the alias in order to, keep some anonymity while doing crime or saving people. But of course, Toga rejects this because she doesn't want to be, rejected by society any more than she already is, so she prefers to show her own name, be herself openly, and fight openly for herself, which is admirable. It's, maybe I'm dealing with a bit of copium because she's a villain and clearly we're supposed to, not trust her, but I like Toga in that regard. Of course, she shows her power here. She's very angry and visceral about how the world's treating her, and the clear binary that she's going to be provided. She either surrenders and goes to prison, or she gets killed by the heroes, like her friend Jin was. So she doesn't see a prospect for her unless she wins and kills Ochiko, and calls Ochiko a hypocrite, or, without saying the actual word. But then Ochiko kind of does some incredible stuff here. This sequence is amazing. First off, she, starts individually hitting all those opponents of the Sad Man's Legion, causing them to float up. Not hurting them, just causing them to float upwards. And then, just through the connective tissue of those floating, she's able to make everybody float. And then tells Toga, yeah, her first interaction with her was poor. She was creeped out by Toga. But she looked back on the situation and went, well, she was creeped out because it was kind of coming on strong, but she saw an earnestness to Toga. She was smiling happily. And it was not a smile of evil. It was a genuine smile. She was actually happy. And when she saw how she hurt Toga, how Toga reacted to her back during the rebirth fight, the big war fight here, she sort of regretted her reaction to that, rejecting Toga, but without really understanding what Toga was. And while she doesn't respect her, when it comes to murdering people, clearly a good idea, don't respect the murder part of that, but she wanted to talk about love with Toga, because clearly Toga was passionate. And, we see the final panel of her as a child offering up her arm to a, fictionalized young Toga as a way of showing no, I'll accept you at least a little bit because I want to know more about you. That's great. People were commenting, I saw, saying let's talk no jutsu. She's just talking past it. You're ignoring the fact that she just levitated all of those people. Thousands of people. Thousands of clones. She just all levitated by herself. That's incredible. Yeah, it's non-violent, but that's the point. she's supposed to be non-violent. Yeah, it's a series about, punching up and battling and so on, but these are heroes. They're not supposed to be just murder clowns. They're supposed to save people and, try to treat things with non-violence, and it's good to see a character treat it that way. My Hero is a good series because it wants to not only pursue what, Shonen Jump is known for, big punch 'em ups with people getting it right in the face, as well as, what it is to to build camaraderie and show empathy. So good on this series. And that's gonna do it for this week. There's a lot of comics. Oh god. And looking forward to next week. Hopefully the return of One Piece, though it's not really telling me when it's coming out. Saying it's going to be the 17th. I'm sort of hoping, but everything else comes out on the 16th, so that's going to be a weird week. Anyway, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Try to look at things with a Marxist view of history, because Great Man Theory is nice, but, kind of ignores the idea that it's not just one person. History is made of all people. Bye!